appreciate your assistance on this one.
Used to keep it cool.
You did a good job.
Maybe it's time for me to go.
I'm overmatched for the first time since I can remember.
I just need somebody to believe in me.
Who's doing that LA night? Nobody.
Get Showtime now.
Growing up in the Edelman household was flat out crazy.
Frank was rough.
It was abusive.
Everything's about football, and all of a sudden, hey Dad, I'm sorry.
You f***ed up.
We're losing games. Get back, for God's sakes.
I would never bet against a guy like Jules.
Listen, I can't stand the New England Patriots.
What?
But everybody loves Julian Edelman. 100% documentary about Julian Edelman on Showtime.
And Jermall Charlo has easily put himself in the mix, to be in the conversation for the big middleweight fights.
Another 1-2.
Some people may complain about the Karabov fight, but that's an underrated opponent. I think it's more credit to Matt Karabov than it is a discredit to Jermall Charlo. I think Matt Karabov is a headache for anybody he fights. I think Charlo otherwise has done a tremendous job of looking good, looking sharp, creating a must-see TV type of situation for himself with the highlight reel kind of knockouts. And that's what he's got to continue to try to do. Charlo has this swagger to him, inside the ring and outside the ring. But at the same time, his skills are world class, and he's shown that. Fighting Brandon Adams, who's kind of the man of the moment right now after having won the Contender, is a good step. But of course, we know what Jermall Charlo wants. We know he wants the big guns at middleweight, and he wants the middleweight championships.
DraftKings and Showtime Sports are bringing fight fans closer to the action than ever before with our custom Showtime boxing pick'em game.
It doesn't get bigger than this for these two warriors.
For every Showtime boxing event, you have the opportunity to compete for your share of $5,000 and a Showtime boxing swag bag, plus a year-long competition to win a trip to every Showtime Championship boxing event in 2020.
When both of us get in the ring, you don't know what's going to happen.
Call it like you see it. Pick the fighters, the method of victory, and earn your shot to win money.
Oh, and this fight is over!
Stop ducking and enter the ring. Go to DraftKings.com/Showtime now to play.
From the colossal complex known as NRG Park, Showtime Championship Boxing brings you the official weigh-in for Saturday night's triple header, coming to you from Houston, Texas. It culminates with the homecoming for Jermall the Hitman Charlo, the undefeated middleweight belt holder. And yes, Charlo has been elevated to full title status after the WBC made Canelo Alvarez the first ever franchise titleist. And Paulie Malignaggi, Mauro Ranallo, will get into the sanctioning body shenanigans later, but it is all about the weigh-in. 3 fights coming your way on Saturday night. We've got a featherweight battle to kick things off between Claudio Marrero and Eduardo Ramirez. Then Erickson Lubin will take on Zach Atu, and Atu's first fight in the United States as the Frenchman looks to derail Lubin, and Lubin bouncing back from his devastating loss to Jermall Charlo. And, of course, the main event will be Jermall Charlo again defending his 160-pound belt against the Contender winner, Brandon the Cannon Adams. We will analyze it, but first, we will bring you the official weigh-in. And to do so, we have to turn things over to Hall of Fame ring announcer Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you, and we welcome you to the Energy Center here in Houston, Texas, as Premier Boxing Champions presents the official weigh-in for our big night of action taking place tomorrow night at the Energy Center, and it's all brought to you by Lions Only Promotions, TGB Promotions, and Showtime, sponsored by MGM Resorts and Brooklyn Boxing. Well, fans, at this time, we present our opening attraction tomorrow night on Showtime. It is 12 rounds of action for the WBA Featherweight World Title Eliminator. Brought to you in association with Samson Boxing. Let's bring our fighters out to the stage at this time. First, from Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic, please welcome the hard-hitting WBA number 6 featherweight contender, introducing the Matrix, Claudio Marrero. And now we invite his opponent to the stage at this time. He is from Mexico's hotbed of boxing, Los Mochis, Sinaloa, Mexico. Please welcome the slick southpaw, number 7 ranked featherweight contender. Here is Eduardo Zurdito Ramirez. All right, fans, here we go. Let's bring our fighters onto the scale at this time for the world title eliminator of the featherweight division. Weight limit is 126 pounds. First, ladies and gentlemen, with 17 knockouts, it is 23 wins. Please welcome the number 6 ranked featherweight contender, Claudio the Matrix Marrero. 125 3/4 pounds, 125 3/4 pounds for Claudio Marrero. And now we present his opponent with 22 wins in his 27 bouts. He is ranked the number 7 featherweight contender. Introducing Eduardo Zurdito Ramirez. $125 1/4 pounds, 125 1/4 pounds for Eduardo Ramirez. There they are, ladies and gentlemen. It's our opening attraction tomorrow night on Showtime. WBA Featherweight World Title Eliminator Eduardo Zurdito Ramirez versus Claudio the Matrix Marrero.
Let's go.
All right, fans, here we go from the NRG Center here in Houston. Premier Boxing Champions presents the weigh-in for our next attraction. Brought to you by Lions Only Promotions, TGB Promotions, and Showtime, and sponsored by MGM Resorts and Brooklyn Boxing. This bout is 12 rounds of boxing scheduled for the WBC Super Welterweight World Title Eliminator. Let's bring our fighters to the stage at this time. First, joining us from Paris, France. He is seeking his 12th consecutive win. He is ranked the IBF number 6 contender. Please welcome Zakaria Zach Attor. And now his opponent from Orlando, Florida. The former world title challenger, ranked the WBC number 4 super welterweight contender. Please welcome Erickson, the Hammer Lubin. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring our fighters to the scale at this time for the Super Welterweight World Title Eliminator. Weight limit is 154 pounds. First to the scale, we welcome the former European champion, ranked the number 6 contender. Please welcome Zakaria Atu. £154.25. He is 1/4 pound over the weight limit. We're going to look at the alternatives, whether he comes back in 2 hours to weigh in to make that 154-pound weight limit, or it looks like he is going to strip down and try to lose that 1/4 pounds to make 154. Zakaria Atu weighs in at 153.75 pounds. He makes the weight limit 153.75 pounds. And now up to the scale at this time we have, with 15 knockouts in his 20 victories, he is the WBC number 4 ranked contender. Once again, please welcome Erickson, the Hammer Lubin. And the scale reads 154.2 pounds, once again slightly over the limit. At this point, initial weigh-in 154.2. Well, we've been here before, once again, removing the trunks, trying to make 154. 153.75 pounds, same as his opponent, 153.75 pounds for Erickson Lubin. There they are, ladies and gentlemen, an intense stare down. Both fighters make weight just under 154. Erickson the Hammer Lubin, Zachariah Zach Atu. 12 rounds of action for the WBC Super Welterweight World Title Eliminator. Tomorrow night, our semi-main event live on Showtime. And now to direct our interviews to both of the fighters, we have Showtime's Hall of Fame broadcaster, Steve Farhood.
Erickson, let's do a quick one here. Erickson, that was about 45 seconds. What did you see?
I seen fear in his eyes. That's all I seen was fear. I seen food. That's food right there. I can't wait till tomorrow, man.
We don't know a lot about Zach Atu. I don't know how much you know about him, but what do you know about him, and what are you going to have to do to beat him?
Honestly, I don't know much about him, but we came up with a great game plan. Me and Kevin, we was in camp. You know, we got the game plan drawn up, and I can't wait for tomorrow. We're gonna execute the game plan as we drawn it up.
If everything goes well tomorrow, how close is Erickson Lubin to being where you want to be, which is knocking on the door of another world championship?
Very soon. You know, this is a world title eliminator, so we'll be there very soon.
We wish you luck.
Thank you.
All right, fans, here we go from the Energy Center in Houston, Texas. Premier Boxing Champions presents the official weigh-in for our main event of the evening, brought to you by Lions Only Promotions and TGB Promotions in association with Banner Promotions, the Tournament of Contenders, and Showtime. We are sponsored by MGM Resorts and Brooklyn Boxing. Our main event, 12 rounds of boxing scheduled for the WBC Middleweight Championship of the World. At this time, let's bring our fighters out to the stage. We begin with the challenger from Los Angeles. He is television's contender, middleweight tournament champion, making his first attempt at a world title. Please welcome Brandon the Cannon Adams. Take his clothes off. And now, ladies and gentlemen, his opponent joining us to the stage, one half of the sensational boxing twins, making his hometown return. Here is the former junior middleweight world champion and the current undefeated WBC middleweight champion of the world from Houston, Texas. Please welcome Jermall Hitman Charlo. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring our fighters to the scale at this same time. Weight limit is 160 pounds. First, making his Showtime debut, please welcome the world-ranked challenger, Brandon the Cannon Adams. Brandon Adams weighs in right at the limit of 160 pounds. 160 pounds for Brandon Adams.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. You know what time it is.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, his opponent, the defending world champion, Houston's two-division champion of the world, the first defense of his current title. Here is the undefeated WBC middleweight champion of the world, Jermall Hitman Charlo. Jermall Charlo weighs in at a ready 159 1/2 pounds. 159 1/2 for the defending champion.
Yeah, right. Too small. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. They got him hyped up. They got him overly hyped. We'll see tomorrow. He too small. He's too small. We'll see, bro. They know what we do. We'll see. We'll see. They know what the fuck we do. Yo, he overly hyped.
And there they are, ladies and gentlemen. It's tomorrow night's main event. 12 rounds for the WBC Middleweight Championship of the World. Jermall Hitman Charlo versus Brandon the Cannon Adams.
I got a couple more pose. Jermall, what you talking about? They got a coach hyping him up. They got a coach hyping him up. You got a brother hyping him up. It's the same thing. And we brothers. And we brothers. We brothers. That's all. We brothers.
And now to hear from, this time I believe both of the fighters, Showtime's Hall of Fame broadcaster, Steve Farhood.
Brandon Adams, I can't say I'm not used to a fighter smiling during the stare out. What does that smile tell Jermall?
It's nothing towards him. This is who I am. You know what I'm saying? That's who Brandon Adams is. I'm excited. I'm happy. Tomorrow we fight. We get it on. I expect the best Charlo. You know what I'm saying? Jermall to come out to be his absolute best because I'm bringing the absolute best Brandon Cannon Adams.
You won the Contender a few months back. Now you're making a big step up in class. Tell us why we should believe that you have it in you to beat him.
Because I'm willing to dig deep. I've had a lot of time off. I had a lot of time to figure out who I am as a person. I had 3 years of a layoff, and everybody thought that was going to be my biggest downfall, but that was my biggest upcoming. You know, I was able to figure out a little more of who I was, and I'm looking forward to this challenge right here, period, point blank.
Prediction?
Me winning.
Good luck. Jermall, what do you want to tell your people here?
They say Jermall. That's how we pronounce it in the H, baby. I want to tell my people, look, I'm proud of y'all coming out. It's going to be a show. I expect everything, you know. I'm going to give it my all. Houston, I'm proud of y'all for stepping up and showing me love like this.
Have you ever fought a fighter that smiled at you during the stare out? What do you take from that?
No, I don't know. You know, look, I'm going in there to defend my life. So, like, regardless, you know, look, I don't got nothing to say about none of that.
He's a shorter middleweight. I think we pretty much know what he has to try to do to upset you. So what do you do? Is he going to be playing right into your hands?
The game plan is Ronnie Shields already laid it out. You know, we got work to do. We back on our bullshit. We in Houston. Look, let's go, baby. I'm ready.
Good luck.
It is going down in H-Town on Saturday night. All 6 fighters made weight, and the wait is almost over. Saturday night, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on Showtime Championship Boxing. It is a triple header culminating with hometown hero Jermall the Hitman Charlo's first title defense at 160 pounds. Again, Mauro Ranallo here with Paulie Malignaggi. And Paulie, let's talk first of all about the fact that Charlo will be defending a 160-pound belt Saturday night. He's been elevated to full title status by the WBC after the WBC made Canelo Alvarez the first ever franchise champion. Yeah. What is your hot take on this mess, my friend?
I'm not even going to get into it because I think if I get into it, I'll confuse myself trying to explain it. So I think one thing everybody will clearly understand and know, regardless of the fiasco of sanctioning bodies and whatnot, is this. Jermall Charlo is one of the best middleweights in the world. You know, he stands out as among the elite, not just one of the best, but among the elite. And you know, that's what we're looking to see tomorrow night. You know, we have a hungry contender in Brandon Adams who, you know, no pun intended, won the Contender, you know, and he's obviously not only hungry, but he's feeling confident because he's coming off that tournament victory. But, of course, this is a big step up for him. He's faced fighters like William Monroe in the past and come up short. Charlo is yet another level up, and we'll see if he's got what it takes to forget about winning the fight. Let's see what he's got. If he's got what it takes to test Jermall Charlo first, and then see if he can, once he's testing him, if he can actually get the W. But I want to see first how he's able to make Jermall Charlo think, how he's able to put Jermall Charlo in situations, if he's able to do that, to where Jermall has to, you know, work a little harder than he maybe expects to.
Now, Jermall Charlo, of course, a minute older than his twin brother, Jermall. Jermall bouncing back last week, stopping late substitute Jorge Cota in the third round. The two brothers, obviously identical twins, as close as you can get. And during the fighter meeting, Jermall telling us that when they were together, when Jermall was upset by Tony Harrison, and then Jermall had his hands full with 11th hour substitute Matt Korobov, he talked about the emotional residue of that being in the fight with his twin brother. Now, here he is coming back to Houston for the first time in over 7 years, going to have near sellout crowd. You've been in hostile territory. You've represented yourself in Brooklyn. Is it all about the media making up all of these things, these intangibles, or is there something to the pressure of being in front of your hometown fans?
I mean, for me, if I'm going to give you my outlook on it, I think it's just more the media pumps it up more. You know, sometimes you get extra ticket requests and whatnot, and that can be a bit overbearing. But Jermall told us in the fighter meeting, he said, I just sent him the link. He goes, I don't deal with any of that, you know? So if he's not dealing with any of that, because for me, that was the only drawback to fighting at home, was the extra ticket requests and people thinking they're doing you a favor by not asking you till the last minute, you know, and all that stuff. So I think realistically, if he's avoided that, I mean, I think this is actually a good experience. You know, the ring is square no matter where you fight in the world. You know, I think there's actually more pressure fighting in other people's hometowns because you got to worry about bad decisions and whatnot. But usually, except when I fought Adrian Broner in Brooklyn, but usually, and you don't have to worry about tough decisions at home.
And also, when we look at the lay of the land at 160, and of course, first things first, Brandon Adams coming up, a huge step up in class after beating Shane Mosley Jr. in the final of the Contender. And for Adams, a guy who has been in tournaments for many of his fights. He was in the finals of the Boxino and then winning the Contender, but making that huge step up. And you alluded to it a little bit earlier. If you were to put together the game plan to defeat Jermall Charlo with the attributes of a Brandon Adams, what would you be doing?
You know, here's the thing. We talk about Brandon Adams, and he's been not busy, and he's been a tournament guy. And then I looked at who was on stage with him. It's Artie Palulo. Palulo is a promoter in boxing, but he doesn't really do a lot of shows, you know. So his fighters are notorious for not being busy and having problems like that. So I looked at that, and I said, okay, that kind of explains probably why he's not been as busy as he should be, unfortunately. The Bucks. So ultimately, when guys like that, tournaments are actually a welcome thing because it keeps them busy just by force. Because if they win, they're able to advance. They're able to stay busy. If they're out, though, it's bad. So he's performed well in these tournaments. Then he got to the final of the Boxino tournament, and then he won the Contender. So he's gotten himself some extra fights because of that. But I think in the Charlo fight, he's stepping up to a class that he hasn't seen before, at least not in an actual fight. He's got a bit of an awkward style. He's short and compact, but he's athletic and he's got natural talent. So he's going to have to try to make that work for him. Charlo has a great jab, and Charlo's jab usually is used to put you in a bad position or to put you off balance so that he can set you up for a big right hand and a big combination afterwards. So the trick for Adams, and he's shorter, maybe he can get underneath that jab, but the trick for Adams is to not overcommit on the defensive moves to the jab when he's shown the jab of Charlo, because if he overcommits to the jab of Charlo and defensively, he will be put in positions for Charlo's big right hands.
And for Charlo, then, how does he impose his will and skill on a guy like Adams?
Well, it's basically the same thing. You know, you have a shorter man, so obviously Charlo's a jabber first naturally. You have a shorter man, so the jab will come in even more handy. And of course, again, you want to see Charlo imposing that jab. And see if it's putting Brandon Adams out of position. If it's not, you're going to add different things, different wrinkles to it. You're going to start doubling on it. You're going to start feinting with it. You're going to start maybe leading with some right hands and whatnot. But I think it all starts and ends with the jab with Charlo. And then if things need to be adjusted or if things need to be taken away or added, you'll see as you go along.
That is the main event, the homecoming of Jermall the Hitman Charlo, defending his 160-pound belt against Brandon Adams. We also have a 154-pound fight, and speaking of the Charlos, Jermall's twin brother, Jermall, defended the title against Erickson Lubin, his 154-pound title, in dominant fashion. I mean, that vicious uppercut won and done in the opening round, but Lubin has bounced back and has won 2 in a row, including in his last fight. He sent 40-year-old Ishe Smith, the first Las Vegas-born champion in boxing, into retirement. Smith, a durable fighter, but boy, Lubin sent him packing in style.
Yeah, and Smith had been a guy who had never been stopped before, you know. So obviously you're supposed to be a 40-year-old ex-world champion if you're a fighter on the come-up like Erickson Lubin. But I think it's not so much that he beat him, but the way he beat him and the way he disposed of him. You know, Ishe had been a durable guy his whole career, regardless of being a bit long in the tooth. And I think that Erickson Lubin getting a clear, concise knockout Iche Smith was actually the statement in that fight.
Now against the Frenchman, Zach Atou, making his American debut, a 37-year-old. We talked to him, and he described himself as a box and move guy. So talk about the styles clash in this 154-pound matchup.
Yeah, I mean, a guy who can box and move, a lot of these Europeans tend to fight like that. You know, they can give you a little bit of trouble tracking them down. Sometimes if you get frustrated over chasing them, you can, wind up walking into some of their counter shots and everything. They're not always the most graceful movers, though. I notice a lot of them are movers, but they're not always the most graceful movers. The ones that are graceful tend to be pretty good, but some of these guys just kind of move just for the sake of moving and then just eliminating a target for you, but they're not really setting a trap. I looked at Atou's record. I recognize a couple of Italian fighters on there, Emanuele De La Rosa, and I recognize Orlando Fiordigillo. De La Rosa is more of a survivor kind of guy. He's not really the kind of guy that's going to bring a lot of firepower behind everything. And he has one draw with De La Rosa, but it was in Italy, and then he beat him in the rematch. And then he has a win over Orlando Fiordigillo in France. Fiordigillo's not a bad junior middleweight, you know what I mean? So I think that win I rated a little bit, but it's still European level. Now he's stepping up to Lubin, who maybe has failed at world level, but is still considered a guy who is going to be at world level.
And
so
he failed
we'll see.
at 21, right? He's only 23,
yes,
maybe
exactly.
too much too soon.
And he also failed at a very high world level.
Yes.
The Charlos are not just your typical world level fighters. They're very, very good.
And so Lubin, then, what do you expect now in his second fight with Kevin Cunningham? Do you expect any new wrinkles, or is it just tightening up what he already has?
Well, he's going to tighten up what he already has, but he's going to have to show us that he can cut the ring off. He can track down a moving target. Because, like I said, a lot of these European guys that are movers, they're not really movers setting up anything. A lot of times they're just kind of just wasting time, and then they jump in and they jump out, and it can be frustrating to fight. So I want to see if Lubin keeps his composure and cuts off the ring properly and puts Atou in positions to be hurt.
All right, and we're kicking off the festivities on Saturday night with a featherweight matchup, 126-pound affair. Should be an action-packed fight between Claudio Marrero and Eduardo Ramirez. Again, looking at this weight class and what these two fighters bring, Paulie, I think we're going to get things started with a bang on Saturday night.
Yeah, stylistically, these guys are pleasing to the eye. They're guys that come to fight. They're guys to come to engage. And, of course, you want to get the broadcast started off on the right foot. And I think if you want to keep the eyes on the viewership on Saturday night, I think this is a good fight to start the broadcast with.
Now, you said right foot. I want to mention the right hand because obviously you made your first foray into bare-knuckle fighting last weekend. Things didn't go your way in the end, but just give us an update on how you feel and how's the hand doing.
I broke one of the metacarpals in the hand, and I luckily I didn't need surgery because the doctor had told me that the bone broke, but it was not displaced. And I think that's thanks to the fact that I didn't use it once I broke it. So I was able to just get casted and have to be in this cast for a couple of months. Other than that, I pretty much thought I won the fight, except for Three Stooges that were watching the fight, the judging ringside. I'm getting a lot of love since the fight, as far as most everybody thought I won the fight. I think it came down to the fact that I broke my hand in round 2, and I had to fight in a more cerebral manner than I planned to. I think if people saw the fight, I fought in a very aggressive manner in the first 2 rounds coming forward. I had to fight in a defensive manner, counterpunching, using it mainly jabs and check hooks after that because I had no right hand. And I think for these barnyard hillbillies over there that were judging down there, I don't think it was. I think it was too elevated for them.
Well, and I don't want to take away from Artem Lobov and what he did
and I was going to go. I was going to go there last because I was going to close it there.
Yep.
But I think that was the problem there too. Artem is what he is. He's an all-heart guy. He comes forward and he comes to fight, and that's what he did. And that's what he was going to do. But really, I'm going to give him credit for what he deserves, and that is that he comes with all heart and he never stopped trying. And really, he never stopped trying. And I think ultimately that's why he was rewarded with the victory. But to say he made any adjustments is a falsehood. It's a falsehood. He didn't make any adjustments. It was more my hand breaking and having me fight in a different manner that was not appreciated by the judges.
Are you ready to make a full-time adjustment and just stay with us and make a good living doing what you do best, man? Or you still got that hunger?
No, I don't think the hunger ever leaves you. Especially in a 10-minute fight. It was kind of a little rush. It was a short fight. It was 10 minutes, and then before you know it, it's over. And so you get your rocks off without having to be in that marathon 12-rounder.
Right.
But so I would have probably done it again. But I think one thing that told me last week, my left hand is still kind of swollen if you look at it, and it's been a week. I mean, I think I actually have more damage than the left than the right. The right broke, but I have like this nervy, tingly feeling in my left hand. I have to check for an MRI to see if I have nerve damage. I don't have a break, luckily, in my left hand, but I'm wondering if there's more damage to it. So my hands basically tell me the story. They're telling me I can't do this anymore, and I definitely can't do bare-knuckle boxing, regardless of the 10 minutes that it lasts.
On a good note, though, your buddy, our pal, but your broadcast partner on From Brooklyn to the World podcast, Petey Cards, Pete Sferrazzo, celebrating a birthday.
Yeah,
Sferrazza.
Pete Sferrazza, my best friend, my Drew Bundini Brown of my career. He's 37 years old today, so happy birthday, Pete.
Hey, buon compleanno, Pietro. And we're going to finish things off by reminding you, and I know you're a big football fan, coming up tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern and Pacific, the Showtime premiere of the documentary 100% Edelman, all about NFL wide receiver Julian Edelman and his, talk about an underdog who made it and then some. It's a great documentary. You'll want to check it out. 100% Edelman on Showtime tonight at 9 Eastern and 9 Pacific. And make sure you join us Saturday night at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific for a triple header on Showtime Championship Boxing.
DraftKings and Showtime Sports are bringing fight fans closer to the action than ever before with our custom Showtime Boxing Pick'em game.
It doesn't get bigger than this for these two warriors.
For every Showtime Boxing event, you have the opportunity to compete for your share of $5,000 and a Showtime Boxing swag bag, plus a year-long competition to win a trip to every Showtime Championship Boxing event in 2020.
When both of us get in the ring, you don't know what's going to happen.
Call it like you see it. Pick the fighters, the method of victory, and earn your shot to win money.
Oh, and this fight is over!
Stop ducking and enter the ring. Go to DraftKings.com/Showtime now to play.
When Jermall Charlo has easily put himself in the mix, to be in the conversation for the big middleweight fights. Some people may complain about the Karabov fight, but that's an underrated opponent. I think it's more credit to Matt Karabov than it is a discredit to Jermall Charlo. I think Matt Karabov is a headache for anybody he fights. I think Charlo otherwise has done a tremendous job of looking good, looking sharp, creating a must-see TV type of situation for himself with the highlight reel kind of knockouts. And that's what he's got to continue to try to do. Charlo has this swagger to him, inside the ring and outside the ring. But at the same time, his skills are world class, and he's shown that. Fighting Brandon Adams, who's kind of the man of the moment right now after having won the Contender, is a good step. But of course, we know what Jermall Charlo wants. We know he wants the big guns at middleweight, and he wants the middleweight championships.
Growing up in the Edelman household was flat out crazy.
Frank was rough.
It was abusive.
Everything's about football, and all of a sudden, hey, Dad, I'm sorry.
You f***ed up.
We're losing games. Get back, for God's sake.
I would never bet against a guy like Jules.
Listen, I can't stand the New England Patriots.
What?
But everybody loves Julian Edelman. 100% documentary about Julian Edelman on Showtime.
I need your assistance on this one.
Used to keep it cool.
You did a good job.
Maybe it's time for me to go.
I'm overmatched for the first time since I can remember.
I just need somebody to believe in me.
Who's doing that LA night? Nobody.
Get Showtime now.